All right, in this video, I'm going to be going over Procreate with you, and I'm going to be talking about some of the basics and some of the gestures that you could be using to speed up your work. Even if you are familiar with Procreate, you might want to keep watching. All right, so last year, lettering artists everywhere really started harnessing the power of Procreate with their iPad Pros and their Apple Pencils, and you just started seeing it booming everywhere. In fact, you can go to Creative Market and purchase brushes and things like that there. It's quite a phenomenal a phenomena, I guess, of interestingness as far as what people are able to do with it. I'm always blown away by what I see, especially on like Instagram. So let's just talk for a minute about Procreate. So Procreate is a pixel-based program, very similar to Adobe Photoshop in that way. It's based on pixels. So you can't create something and then blow it up without losing quality. That's what pixel means in there. So it's not vector. And when I'm talking about vector, I'm talking about things like you would use Adobe Illustrator for, which is something that is scalable based upon the math of it. So Procreate is a pixel-based painting program, not vector. You can't take a file that you created in Procreate and open it in Illustrator and start editing it without having problems with that. That's because you have to vector it first. Now I'm going to talk about vectoring in the very end of this course. So I want you guys to know that that's just kind of why you're not able to make too many changes. It may be also why you're having some problems with printing or having a problem with scaling or things of that nature. So again, I'm going to talk about that at the end, but I do want to go over some of the basic things about Procreate with you guys so you get an understanding of how it all works. So when you open Procreate, you're going to have the screen here that opens up, and this is called the gallery. Now, the gallery is where all of your files are located, so you can access old work, create folders, that sort of thing. Creating folders is really simple. Let me just pull something out, or I'm just going to create a new document just to show you. So I have in my gallery 2 loose documents here. These are what you call stacks, and you can see that they look like they're stacked upon each other. So in here in the gallery, you can create stacks and you can name them, and which is a great way to keep your items organized. All you're doing to start a stack is click on one of the items and hold it, drag it onto the other one and wait until it highlights like it's like a light blue, and then that will create a new stack here. And then you can name it by clicking on it and say name stack, just like that, and that would name it and hit done. And then when you click on it and open it, you'll see the files that are inside of it. And you can actually click and rearrange some of your files as well if you would like to do that. You could also name your files. So when you create a new file here, it just puts it in here and it opens it and lets you start working on it. Well, if you go back to the gallery of that particular one, you can click one time underneath that and start naming your file. So name your file here. All right, so to go back to your library, all you would do is just click that, and that's just going to take you back. So again, I can open up my holiday letterings and see those there if I want, that sort of thing. If I want to delete a file from my Procreate, all I would do is left swipe on it, and I could either duplicate it, share it, or delete it. And I'm just going to delete that one, and it's going to ask me, is that what I want to do? And I say yes. Same with that one, I could do it as well. I can also delete an entire stack by left swiping it and hit delete, and that's going to allow me to delete a particular stack as well. If I want to move something from one stack to another, for instance, let's say I want to move one of these alphabets that I've done to a new stack, I would just click and hold it, drag it up to where it says alpha, and it's going to move into the main gallery, and then I can just like click and move it into another. Whoops. Sometimes if you drop it and don't do it just right, it's not going to do it. So you kind of have to click over there, bring it in, let it go in, come over here and give it a second to drop it in. If you try to do it too fast, it will not do it. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the file types. So the file types of these files that you're creating here are Procreate, I believe, is the actual extension. It used to be .pro, I think, or maybe it is .pro, and .procreate is just another form of that. So that is a file type that is native to this app here, and you can only open Procreate files in Procreate. However, you can export your files as a Photoshop file, which is a PSD, a PNG file, a JPEG file, and a TIFF. And you can actually bring those files into Procreate. So, for instance, because this file right here, I have like a few layers I've been working on, I can export this as a Photoshop file. And by doing that, I preserve the layers as they are. So in Photoshop, when I open it, each of these layers is visible and I can work with them that way. It's such a really awesome thing. So to export your files, all you're doing is going to this little toolbar. It looks like a wrench up here. And you'll go to the Share button, and then you can choose your file type to export here. Now, if I want to just export the Procreate file, I could do that as well and share that with somebody else who's using Procreate. In fact, in the companion guide where I have the Procreate lettering files, they're all Procreate files, so I can share those with you, and then you can open them directly in here without any problems. So say I want to export that as a PSD file for Photoshop, I would just click on PSD and it's going to say exporting. Then it's going to ask me where I want to save it. I tend to save all my files on my Dropbox because I have everything organized there. So I can click there and save it. I could actually use the AirDrop app in, if I have a Mac, which I do, and I could just AirDrop it to myself. I could send it in an email, anything like that. So if I wanted to say, save this file as a JPEG and later put it on Instagram, for some reason, if I save as a JPEG and then upload to Instagram, it does so much better. But if I try to do this share to Instagram directly, my file gets really fuzzy looking, and so it just doesn't give me the best quality. So I just hit JPEG, and I usually will save it, and that saves images to my photos, and then I can go into Instagram and upload it from there. That to me works best and how I prefer to do it. Okay, so also I can import files in here. So for instance, if I have a new layer up here, I can click on that toolbar and I can click on the image icon here, and I can either insert a file, insert a photo, or paste something maybe I've copied from the internet. So a file is going to actually open up the options where I have different locations for my files. So either the iCloud Drive or Dropbox, which is where I prefer to put my files, and I can easily come in and find something and import it in. So if I clicked on, say, my stock images, and I want to put this file in there, I could click on it. It's going to download and then put it right there and ready for me to scale it and size it up however I need. So that's importing a file from, say, Dropbox or iCloud. I can also do it from insert a photo, and insert a photo is actually going to open up my photos where I can go into all photos and click on something and again, scale it up so that it's in there on a new layer. So that's a really great tool to have here. As far as, sharing everything that, get everything kind of going in there, as far as like adding photos, or if I have say I have a worksheet that somebody may have saved as a JPEG, I could put that in here as well. So let's take a minute to just look at the different tools that are in here. So the first one, they're called actions. The first one is image. Again, this is where you would insert a file or a photo. You could take a photo, you could copy something, or you could paste something. So if I was on the internet and I wanted to hold down and do save image or copy, I could paste it directly in there. You also have Canvas here, and Canvas allows you to turn on the perspective guide. That's going to give you a guide if you're looking for perspective. If you want to draw, say, a house or a building, that's a good tool to have here. You can also flip your canvas horizontally or vertically. And then you can also look at Canvas information here. Now I'm going to show you how to create a new document in here as well. So let's just not worry about how to set these up for this particular one, but it lets you just know, oh my gosh, did I save that as a high res? That sort of thing you can look at. The share file here, again, I went over that with you. Video is really cool. If you turn on time-lapse recording, it'll actually record you as you're lettering, and then you can hit replay and it'll show you the replay of that particular lettering. Let me see if I can find one for you guys to look at that I did and give you so like say one of my alphabets, my B. Because this one recorded, I can click on that choose video and hit replay, and then you can watch it take place. Now the cool thing about that is I can actually share that. So if I wanted to export that file here, I could export the time-lapse video and load that into Instagram or something like that and show that off. You also have live broadcast. Live broadcast, depending on what app you're using, you can broadcast live from here. I may try it with YouTube later. I haven't done it. I think if you have Periscope or something, you can do that as well. So just be aware of that. All right, preferences are going to be things that are going to help you out with preferences for the app and working with it. These are how I have mine set. You can do a light interface where it's lighter. I like the dark. I think it is visually, I can see it better. You can move your tools to the right if you are your the right hand interface, whatever this, I can't remember what this is called here. But this is going to move it to the right. This is how you size your brushes and select colors, or you can have it on the left. You can also turn on the brush cursor, which is, it looks like, so you see it has a circle where the brush is. Let me undo those. You also have the AirPlay canvas. I believe that's, I haven't done that before. Yeah, I think that's if you want to like put it up, say like if you have AirPlay like on your computer or something like that, you can use it. I don't really use that, so I'm gonna turn it off. Oops, hello. Let me turn those off. You also have undo delays, quick line delays. The quick line is something I'll show you later, but you can adjust there. You can auto hide that interface over here. You can connect a third-party stylus. The Apple Pencil should automatically connect, but if you're using something different, that's where you would do that here. I'm not going to choose that. There are some advanced gestures controls that you can adjust, but let's just not worry about those for this particular course. And then finally you have help, which is where you can go in and go into the Procreate community and learn a few things there. So that's going to be your actions tool. I will talk about more like adjustments later, but for things like opacity and blurs and colors and that sort of thing, that's where you would find that there. This is the select tool. When you click on it, you also get an option down here to choose automatic freehand, and you can flip things with it as well. And then this is the selection tool that you're going to be using all the time. The selection tool is going to be the thing that helps you move things around on your layer. All right, so one more section of Procreate that we're going to get used to here is this is the brushes tool. So Procreate creates all of its brushes for you in groups. There's sketching brushes, so you'll find I like to use the 6B or HB pencil to do things. You can create your own brushes, which I have a video on that. You can click new set and then you can name your brushes, or you can just like import them into the imported folder here. And then the ability to make some changes to your brushes are if you click on a brush, it's going to open up the settings for the brush. So I'm not going to go into too much here other than in another video I will show you some things, but for the most part these are all how these brushes are created, and you can go through them and learn a little bit more about them. You also have the smudging tool here, which I'm not going to do on here, the eraser tool, and the layers tool. And I will talk about the layers tool a little bit, or layers palette, I'll talk about that a little bit later to give you some more guidance to there. Then you have the color palettes here. So the color palettes allow you to choose from the disc. You can do classic, you can do values. So if you know a hex value here or an RGB value here, you can enter that. And then you have palettes, so you can create new palettes by clicking the plus button. Here you can name your palette by clicking on it, and as you pick colors here, you can you can go into that palette and click on it, and then when that new color is selected, you can click on a square and add it to the actual palette. I do have a video that I can show you on how to create color palettes by coming in and selecting, you know, different colors from a photograph and create a palette that makes sense for something that you're working on. But that's how you work with palettes. If you want to delete a palette, left slide it to delete it. You can also share it with somebody if you'd like. This is where you will adjust the brush size. And this is the opacity of the brush, and this is my favorite. This is the undo button. That's going to undo things for you and redo things for you to you know, step back on some different features you may have tapped on accidentally, or if you do something you didn't like. That's your basic overview of Procreate. In Procreate, I also want to show you how to create a file, your own file settings here. So if you were to click on the plus here, you're going to find defaults here. You can also create a custom canvas by clicking on here and choosing what you want it to be. Now, I like to do my Instagrams at like about the size of an Instagram photo. I can't remember exactly what it is, but I usually do like 2000 by 2000 pixels. You can change this to inches if you want. You can type in the width at say 2000, and you want your height to be 2000, and then you know it's 300 dpi, and you just name it. And so maybe I'm like Insta temp or something like that. Hit done, and now it's going to open up the file. But if I go back to gallery, click on that plus sign, there's my saved particular file type right there. I can just click it and it will start a new document for me. So that's really awesome if you do a lot of things. I do that for Instagram, so I have the right file size that I'm working with for that as well. So some of the things I'm going to show you here and in the next video are what we call gestures, and gestures are like shortcuts, and they're going to make your life a whole lot easier, and I'm going to show you a few that I think you're going to like. All right, so before we move on to that video, if you have any questions about Procreate, feel free to post them in our Facebook group so that I can help you out and give you some guidance, or somebody else can give you guidance, and hit that thumbs up on that button below and here on YouTube so that we can get more people seeing this course and learn from us. All right, I'll see you in the next video.